We're moving on to the Nikki Haley story, the Nikki Haley and Charles Barkley story. Now, for those who are not aware, Charles Barkley was a former NBA player, but he's also, a commentator now, as many athletes do. Well, not many, but some athletes do when they retire from the sport. Well, apparently he's gotten into politics a little bit as well. And he actually had a discussion with Nikki Haley. And this is actually Gayle King, Oprah's friend Gayle, who is on the stage with Charles Barkley. They are really holding Nikki Haley's feet to the fire here. Also really weird that Charles Barkley is excited to support Nikki Haley. But Charles Barkley has always been, just I don't know, how do you describe it? It's just like a house Negro, like if it was during the time of slavery, Charles Barkley would be the one that would go snitch that the slaves in the field were trying to make an escape. He's always been that way. You can't really go to Charles Barkley and expect him to really get some type of support for him in reference to some type of what they would call a radical cause or something like that. Like, I'm pretty sure Charles is not about to go out in the streets and protest for the Palestinian people. He's always kind of been that way. So you can count on Charles Barkley to just sell out. Let's just put it that way. But in this particular discussion, he has some questions for Nikki Haley's previous statements that she made about the United States. Let's bring it up, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to start, Gayle.
All right, please.
I'm dying to vote for you. I mean that sincerely. I want to give all my energy and all my heart behind your campaign.
He said he's dying to vote for Nikki Haley. Do you guys know anyone who's dying to vote for Nikki Haley? Anyone? Anybody? I haven't met one person that is dying to vote for Nikki Haley.
But I was upset when you made the reference that you didn't think America had racism. And my question is, I was disappointed, number one, obviously, but I want to give you a chance. Did you say that because you felt like you needed to say that to the audience? Because I can say, I'm dying to vote for you, and that hurt me. So I would love for you to clarify that, please.
He dying. Why are you dying to vote for her? He doesn't even say why. Look at the look on Nikki's face. Nikki has this look on her face like, if I get this question one more damn time.
So first of all, I never said that there was not racism in America. There absolutely is racism in America. I said that America was not a racist country. And the whole point of that is, and Charles, you'll appreciate this, when I grew up, the only Indian family in a small rural southern town, we weren't white enough to be white, we weren't black enough to be black. They didn't know who we were, what we were, or why we were there. If my mom had told me that we lived in a racist country, I would have grown up never thinking I could be governor, never thinking I could be ambassador, never thinking I could run for president.
Pause. My parents told me growing up that this was a racist country. That didn't stop me from trying to achieve any of the things that I accomplished in my life. In fact, that actually made me want to fight harder to achieve what I wanted to accomplish. My parents did go to college. That didn't stop me from trying to go to college. So it just seems like to me, Nikki Haley, it's like, so you want to tell people the opposite because you're afraid it will make people think that they can't accomplish goals that they want to accomplish. So it's okay to just openly lie? No, tell people the truth. I lived in your state, Nikki Haley. I graduated from the University of South Carolina. So let's talk about what happened in South Carolina while I was there. Let's talk about what happened with the Confederate flag when you became governor and you said you didn't want to take it down because it would upset some people. What people were you talking about, Nikki, when you said you didn't want to take it down because it would upset some people? Then it was after Dylan Roof walked into an AME church in Charleston and killed 9 Black people just because of the color of their skin. Then you said, we need to take the flag down. Then you said that. Then after that, you lost support from the same group of people that you were trying to protect their feelings when you first decided not to take the flag down. This is also part of the reason why she's polling so poorly in South Carolina. Now, she won't tell you that, but I will. Let's talk about the fact that when you ran for governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, one of the members of your own party said, we already have a raghead in the White House. We don't need another one in the State House. That was a member from your own party. That was during Barack Obama's presidency, in case you guys are wondering. So let's talk about that, Nikki. You cannot shield, especially children. You cannot shield them from the truth and reality that they are going to face today. You need to tell them the truth. Because you see, my parents telling me the truth and my parents explaining to me, you will have to work twice or 10 times as hard to get the same credit. That let me know ahead of time. So there was never any question where I had to ask, why didn't I get this and they got that? Why didn't this work out this way for me? And why did it work out that way? I never had to ask. I already knew. So you can't shield people. Let's go on.
But my mom always said, your job is not to show them how you're different. Your job is to show them how you're similar. And it's amazing how that lesson on the playground played throughout my life, whether it was the corporate world, as governor, as ambassador, that once I was ever presented with a challenge, if I first talked about the things we had in common, people would let their guard down.
Let me tell you what she's really saying, right? Don't show people how you're different. In other words, in order to fit in with other groups, you need to downplay your differences and you need to behave more like them. I would never tell any of you to do that. You have to be yourself and you have to be your full self. And if you're ever in a situation or an environment or organization or job or school where you feel like you have to hide who you are so that you'll be accepted, well, then that's not a you problem. That's a them problem. So it sounds like to me, her mom was basically telling her she needs to learn how to assimilate and hide part of her Sikh heritage. That's what it sounds like to me.
And then we could go towards a solution.
But Governor,
we
I think
have
most people
racism
heard
in
you
our
say
country. Our job should be,
Governor, I think most people heard you
our
say
job should
that
be
you did
that
not
we
believe that
stomp out
America had ever
racism.
been a racist country. That's the problem. That we heard you say.
That's not what I
we
said.
heard. Okay. That's what we.
We're going to play what she said so you can hear it for yourself. Let's go back for just a second so you can hear. I'll put on the captions because there was interrupting there so you can hear what Gail was saying.
People heard you
our
say
job should
that
be
you did not
that we
believe that
stomp out
America had ever
racism.
been a racist country. That's the problem. That we heard you say.
That's not what I said.
We heard. Okay. That's what we
so
heard.
I never said. I said that America is not a racist country. The premise of America was never to be a racist country, and that our number one goal should be to make today better than yesterday.
So here's another problem. She said the premise of America was never to be a racist country. How do you think this country was formed? Never to be a racist country? When you had colonizers kicked indigenous people off their own land and put them on reservations, killed most of them, and put the remaining ones on reservations? When you had over 400 years of slavery in this country, but it was never meant to be a racist country. When you had years of Jim Crow laws in the South of segregation, lawful segregation, but it was never meant to be a racist country. What are you talking about, Nikki? If it was never meant to be a racist country, even in 2024, we wouldn't have systemic racism in this country today. today. What do you mean? Ay.
We need to stomp out racism wherever it exists. But if you go and tell kids that they live in a racist country, then you're automatically telling brown and black kids that they'll never be good enough.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Because you see something, Nikki, let me explain something. You still have the advantage of being white adjacent. And let me explain what that means. It means that no, she is not white, but she is closer to passing for white and being accepted by white people and organizations than a black person is. You know what I mean? So don't try to tell me, because I already know. Nikki Haley's father used to work at a HBCU in South Carolina, an all black college. But Nikki Haley, when her parents got a little bit of money, they sent her to the white private school. So you see, this is not to say she didn't experience discrimination. I'm sure she probably did. But what Nikki has to understand is, even for someone like her, it is going to be easier for her to fit into those spaces than someone like Gail or Charles. Yes, LPA Films, proximity. Exactly. She has that proximity to whiteness. So no, don't lie to your children, ladies and gentlemen. Don't lie to your children. Tell them the truth about this country. Are we also supposed to shield the kids from knowing about what this government is doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza? Are we supposed to lie to them about that too? Are we supposed to lie to them and make them believe that Israel is actually being friendly towards the Palestinian people and that the Palestinian people are the enemy because that's what the Zionist movement wants you to say? Or are we going to tell our kids the truth? Nikki is basically telling you how to make things a little bit easier for yourself if you just ignore that these problems exist. Get out of here.
Want our kids to think that. I want them to know that, yes, there is racism. Yes, it is wrong wherever we see it. But that doesn't mean that the country is against you. That means that we need you even more than ever so we can stomp it out wherever we see it.
The systems in this country are against you. You have to know that. You have to know the criminal justice system in this country is going to be against you. You have to know that the prison system, the policing system is going to be against you. You have to know that. Black parents have to tell their children how to behave if they are pulled over by the police. None of my white friends have had to explain this to their kids. None of them. So you have to tell people the truth.
Okay, I really don't want to split hairs, but the exact quote that you said was, America has never been a racist country. I think that's the problem that people objected to. We're not disputing that what you're saying about America is not a racist country. Some people would argue with that. But we're saying that the comment you made that particular day was that America has never been a racist country. And I think that's what caught people off surprise, caught people off guard. And I don't think
the premise of America was to be a racist country. I think that they said that, every man was created equal with life.
Pause. Like, you got two black people sitting here, okay? The intention was never to be a racist country. Who built the country, ladies and gentlemen? It wasn't like Africans just woke up one day and said, let me get on a boat and go to North America. Let me go get paid and do some of this work over there. No, they were thrown into ships. The ones who didn't even make it to North America, but some of them died because of dehydration and disease, were thrown off the ships, okay, into the water like trash. Then they get to the country, the ones who did make it here. They weren't paid. They were whipped, beaten. They were sexually assaulted, the men and the women. They had chattel slavery in this country. The slave trade happened for over 400 years, even after they were told to stop doing it. Charleston, South Carolina, your state, Nikki Haley, was still importing slaves after they were ordered to stop doing it. And they built this country. And you want to sit here and say the premise of the country was never never to be racist. It was racist from day one. Now, I don't know who she's trying to pander to. You already losing in South Carolina, boo. That primary is tomorrow. So I don't know if you're trying to get back in good graces with the people in South Carolina that you pissed off when you told them to take down that damn flag. But this is BS.
Liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and getting it to the place it needed to be was America was a work in progress. But I don't think that the basis of America was that we were a racist country.
Pause as well. She's talking about the Constitution or Declaration of Independence. When she talks about all men are created equal, she leaves out an important piece about that. That was referring to white men, not even women. That was referring to white men, and mainly white men that owned property. Nikki Haley knows this. You grew up in South Carolina. They teach you about this in South Carolina. So you cannot sit here and pretend like that applied to everybody, because it did not. What a mess.
I think the goal was always to have freedom. Now we stumbled along the way, and we've got some parts of our history that were not pretty. But we got past that. I don't think that our founders wanted us to have a racist country. I don't believe that that's the basis that America sits on. So that's what
if you want to talk about what the founders wanted, first of all, go back to where she said we got past it, because we got some things to say.
But I don't think that the basis of America was that we were a racist country. I think the goal was always to have freedom. Now we stumbled along the way, and we've got some parts of our history that were not pretty.
Stumbled? The goal was always to have freedom? No, it really wasn't. Because see, the thing is, the idea was not for slaves to be integrated into the rest of society as everyday working people. That is why when the slaves were freed, they were just kind of like, well, what do we do with them now? That was never the premises. Like when you brought Africans over to this country as slaves, that was free labor. And for people who sit back and say, well, no, I don't talk about reparations. That is divisive. Divisive for who? That makes some people feel bad, hurts some people's feelings. And why does it hurt their feelings? Why does it make them feel bad? We need to talk about that. Because a lot of people talk about the workers, and we talk about labor in this country. You're talking about 400 years of free labor that was never compensated for. Now, that was supposed to happen with General Sherman's promise, right? 40 acres and a mule. What happened to that? Girl, you done, girl.
But we got past that. I don't think that our founders wanted us to have a racist country. I don't believe that that's the basis that America sits on. So that's what I was saying, is I don't think the premise of America was ever to be a racist country. I think it's always to be the best country with the most freedom that allows anybody to be whatever they want to be without government getting in their way or anybody else getting in their way.
When she talks about what the founders didn't want, you want to know something that the founders did not want? We're talking about most of the presidents owned slaves, so I don't know what she's talking about back then during that time. You want to know what else the founders did not want, the founding fathers? They didn't want political parties. They did not want a Republican Party. They didn't want a Democratic Party. They didn't want political parties, because their fear, which actually came to be, was that people would divide themselves and do the bidding for the party instead of the bidding for the people. So let's see what she said. This is when she made the announcement that she was going to run for president. And it's Nikki Haley at the RNC. America is not a racist country.
In much of the Democratic Party, it's now fashionable to say that America is racist. That is a lie. America is not a racist country.
Look at the look on her face when she says it. It's just like, it's just a front.
This is personal for me.
Oh, Lord.
I am the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. They came to America and settled in a small southern town. My father wore a turban. My mother wore a sari. I was a brown girl in a black and white world. We faced discrimination and hardship, but my parents never gave in to grievance and hate. My mom built a successful business. My dad taught 30 years at a historically black college, and the people of South Carolina chose me as their first minority and first female governor.
And that was after one of your own in your party called you a raghead and said that he did not want you there. She doesn't tell people about that part. But Sabby remembers, I remember, and there's something else crazy that is happening with her. So remember I told you, why is she still like staying in this race, knowing that obviously she's going to lose tomorrow after South Carolina is pretty much done, because she doesn't have the Republican base. Like, she basically has support from independents and some people who are Democrats that are supporting Nikki Haley as well. But she doesn't have enough of the Republican party base to actually win these states against Donald Trump, right? So I said, what's the plan? Is she going to try to ride this out and then break away and run as independent? Well, guess who is considering doing that with her? Dean Phillips. I kid you not. This came my way. Listen to what he says about that possibility.
Wouldn't all your listeners be more compelled by maybe Nikki Haley and Dean Phillips getting together on a unity ticket and actually doing for the first time, perhaps in our country's history, what most Americans really want, which is cooperation, collaboration, participation, decency, common sense, leadership? So I'm going to turn the question that way, because there's no way Nikki Haley will become the nominee in the GOP. And the fact of the matter is, right now, the Democratic Party doesn't want competition and seems to want to coronate Joe Biden. So I think the real question.
So as an independent, let's say she ran as an independent, you would run as her VP?
I think it's a conversation that Ambassador Haley and I should have, if that's what this comes down to, in the event of a Donald Trump victory in this November, which is almost certain if Joe Biden is the nominee. I think any American who opposes that should celebrate, encourage, and inspire an alternative that can actually win and lead our country in the way that people want. And I think anybody, including myself, should keep open minds and hearts about that. I hope Nikki Haley does, and I think America could be very well served by some type of a bipartisan ticket that restores faith in government, and most importantly, demonstrates to the world that America can work together and restore its extraordinary brand around the entire world. And that's my aspiration, Chad, one way or another.
Thank you.
So I'm a little bit confused, because him and Nikki Haley, their policies are nothing alike. Now, Dean Phillips just did this interview with Brianna Joy Gray on Bad Faith, and he's advocating for like Medicare for all. Nikki Haley's not advocating for those types of things. Like, why would you even consider doing a unity ticket with Nikki Haley and your policies are not aligned at all? And two, Brianna Joy Gray asked him during that interview if he would be interested in running as an independent, breaking away. Obviously, he's not going to win in the primary against Joe Biden. Would he be interested in doing that? And he said no. He said because Trump is too much of a threat. Now, Dean is singing a different tune. I don't know what's happening here, folks. But to me, I could understand if your policies align, but their policies don't align. So I don't understand why you would join with Nikki Haley as a unity ticket. What is the unity? What are you united on? Israel? Is that the one? Probably.